So I'm sure as all of you guys know, the new movie Godzilla x Kong Supernova was announced not too long ago, and we've reacted to a couple things about it. One, we reacted to the trailer and kind of pointed out some things we could see. And then two, we reacted to another trailer breakdown video. Well, today we have a third trailer breakdown. Now, normally I wouldn't react to a third trailer breakdown. You know, why would we need to do that? But the video's by Goji Center, and apparently from the thumbnail, it looks like Godzilla's getting a new evolution. I don't know if it's true or just like some speculation. It's gotta be speculation, but I wanna see why that this orange-looking evolved Godzilla is in this video. Let's get to it.
On this episode
Shout out to Goji Center,
we pick apart a teaser that is taking the net by storm.
Yes,
There's
it is.
A lot to cover
it is taking it by storm for sure.
But real quick, today we're going to be discussing possible speculations about the plot of our next MonsterVerse adventure.
None of it is like absolutely official, okay?
With a grain of salt.
You gotta
Especially
remember,
since our agents haven't managed to break into Legendary HQ.
They're trying just yet.
So, we might be as surprised as you are later on. So, join us
we
on this road of speculation.
What is it, 2 years?
Sit back and get comfortable. Smack that subscribe button, and let's get rolling.
Hit that subscribe button, guys, if you haven't yet.
Trailer seemingly set inside a Monarch call center to report in.
I can't wait for some actual trailers,
really
bro.
Be relevant later on. We see news reports and graphics in the background giving us a bit of a sit rep on the situation around the world. Not only does it look like multiple Titans have gone active or are remaining active on the side.
Actually, now that he's pointing that out, I don't know if we ever zoomed in on this map right here. As you can see, all these dots, like the blue dots, we got red dots. Maybe blue dots are like Titans that aren't extremely dangerous. Red dots maybe meaning, you know, extreme danger. I don't know if that's exactly what that map is, but that's the first time I'm seeing that for whatever reason.
But the world itself seems to be
that's
changing.
That's interesting.
The Great Pyramids of Giza, the oldest
it is changing.
and only
Those pyramids,
of the ancient world, still around today. Constructed over 5,000 years ago, the largest towering even over Godzilla. Tombs and mausoleums to ancient kings were the tallest in the world for nearly 4,000
Bro, who do y'all think made the pyramids,
years.
man?
And someone is making them into a casino.
Look at them.
Either because they're trying to relocate after the female Muto
Not the
tore a
casino.
hole through and terraformed Vegas, or because nothing is sacred anymore. It seems like
let me know how excited you guys are for this movie in the comments.
Destroyed Great Pyramids of Giza into new attractions. Whether this is just another tech
do you think it's an attraction,
or if they are seriously going through with it remains to be seen.
I think it's something
with the glowing portions reminds us an awful lot.
I don't think it's an attraction
in the hollow Earth with their gravity alteration properties. Does this imply someone is trying to reverse engineer some of their lost technology? Who knows?
That's what it could be.
There was a portal outside of the area right in Egypt when Kong came popping out of it after all. We are also told that reconstruction on Rio is ongoing after the multi-monster melee in the last movie.
That was a battle.
That was a battle. Have gotten very good at putting things back together down south after Behemoth plowed through the city during Ghidorah's onslaught. On the desk of apparently a Monarch employee, we can see the same kind of merchandise we have on our workspaces. And just like us, they seem to be
there's got to be some stuff here that we're not seeing, though.
Not Discord. There's also notes to keep correspondence with several characters we've already met in the franchise.
I'm glad Trapper's going to be in the next one.
From the last outing are named.
I think,
Monarch
right?
Director Hamilton alongside
why they would
Dr.
keep his name in
Stanton
there.
returning from King of the Monsters, and surprisingly, Dr. J. Jorgensen from the Monarch Declassified comic.
Nice.
Now, this would be one of the few times parts of media outside of the films, that being the comics, got acknowledged in the actual movies.
That's pretty cool.
The canonicity of the extra material outside of the films has been lukewarm at best for most of the MonsterVerse.
I like when the comics and the movies kind of mix together a little bit.
Such as the disappointing apparent
makes for some action.
Of the Muto Prime. So see that video for more info. However, this kind of Easter egg might imply some more communication across MonsterVerse projects. Last time we saw the aforementioned doctor, she was working in a Hollow Earth base studying the possibly reviving head of Tiamat. And considering
the possibly reviving head,
dabble in Titan communication, we might see that as a relevant plot point in this next outing. Perhaps Lahamu might be reunited with his resurrected mother now.
That would be insane.
We can also see a note on paper with several letters and numbers, GSXO 3262-027. One possibility is this is implying some kind of important
I don't know why I never saw that.
326-2027. But this combined with the numbers could mean a lot of things. We can also see a photograph of Dr. Alan Grant.
Yeah, I would imagine that's what it is, actually.
Sam Neill is soon to join some of the rare alumni that have been in multiple monstrous franchises. And his image here implies his character will probably have some kind of ties to Monarch. We like to think it's a natural fit for Grant after all. But
I like it.
alongside
I'm a
the
fan of
merch
that.
we
I'm a
mentioned
fan.
earlier, like the Keep Kong and Carry On mug spoofing a statement from the World War era, we did notice this little piece of merchandise you can't get a hold of online.
The Godzilla
This
bobblehead?
Godzilla figurine is clearly the legendary version, having the same ridges around the eyes and lack of external ears that the Toho versions often have. But this is not how the G-Man looked in the last movie or any look prior.
See, this is why I
While
was
we can
saying
only
they
tell
might
so
have
much
like
from the simplified style, this
a
Godzilla
new
does look
whatchamacallit?
noticeably chunkier. In
Evolution.
return back to the more robust shape he had in the
He didn't
first
look too
couple of
different in that,
movies.
like, color-wise,
Sources
but-
did note that Godzilla's evolution to
From the
stop
thumbnail.
Scar King's army was hurried, and he likely burned a lot of energy doing it. With things settled back
He
down,
did go
at
right
least
to
for a
sleep.
short time, he might have put back on his bulk from before. One thing we did also notice, however, was his dorsal spines. Much like many of the Toho versions, this figurine seems to have ivory-colored spikes running down his back. A white-colored version of the evolved form inspired by Godzilla Ultima was considered for the prior movie, so we might
Ultima's
be seeing
so
something
terrifying,
similar
bro.
in this new outing. On the computer monitors
that would
near
be
the figure,
sick.
we can see rapid-fire binary
Like a
codes
real-looking
dashing across
Godzilla
the
Ultima?
screen. When translated, it comes out as Godzilla Kong. Watch this space.
That's right.
We'll dig in a bit more
Watch
on this
this
specific
space.
moment in the next
Space
section, which
Godzilla.
is definitely important considering Trapper's actor Dan Stevens posted this
Oh, yeah.
exact line. This, alongside the later alert talking about something severe arriving on the scene, definitely implies a colossal threat, on par with the major disasters we've seen in the past, like Ghidorah.
Oh, it's
a
not just gonna
massive
be on
event of
par,
multiple
bro.
Titans
It's gonna,
going
if it's
active,
Space
or
Godzilla, it's gonna be
both.
well above par.
The number on screen, 240 Monarch, that's 1-240-666-2724
I guess well below par.
for anyone confused on how numbers
I don't know
to
how
letters
golf
work on a
works that
phone,
much.
is part of a new alternate reality game being set up where people can report Titan sightings. Yeah, you can actually
Yeah,
call
we called,
this
we
number.
called.
Here,
Y'all remember.
Take a listen.
Thank you for calling the Monarch Community Support Hotline.
Yep, we
Your
called that.
global
We called
resource
that.
for Titan response and relief. Your help reporting.
I forgot that you can
Titan
actually
plays a critical
record
role in keeping our world
your
safe.
calls and
The
stuff
trailer
like that.
ends with the aforementioned alert and Godzilla's roar, set with both the title and a story background.
Yes, sir.
The latter
Yes, sir.
certainly implies we are going galactic with some of the next threats for an adventure in the Monsterverse unlike any other. Let's
I'm so
backtrack
excited, man.
a little bit and analyze a few of these images a bit more. Something to note is that a few of the alerts in the teaser
See, that
are
middle
dated
looks like
to
Giga to
this
me, that
year,
R.
whereas the last outing in the franchise actually took place a couple of years in the future. A few have been confused by this and thought maybe we're getting a flashback sequence for this movie or some kind of prequel. We, however, think until given reason otherwise, this might have just simply been an oversight by the teaser developers.
Yeah, I
If
think
the
it was
movie
just
is
a-
entering production now.
just
then
a
what
little
we are
thing.
seeing is
It's in
probably
production
not
now.
going to be a major sequence in the movie.
Yeah.
And was likely brewed up specifically for the teaser. The fact that the 2025 date is roughly at the same time the teaser was released further makes us think this is the case.
Yeah,
In
I
other
don't think
words,
the date
don't
had
read
anything
too
to
much
play with
into
it,
the
really.
date, especially since Rio and the pyramids are being rebuilt. Otherwise, this is just a major retcon and a deplorable debut of this.
If
new
Rio's
outing.
being built, it was years in the future.
When we
Doesn't
left
make
off in
sense.
the
It was
last
just the
movie,
date that
our
the trailer
titular
came out.
Titans
I
and
think.
their allies were arguably at the best they ever were at. Godzilla's enjoying a new home after evolving into a new power greater than
Godzilla's
anything
chilling
he
in the
had before
Coliseum.
Solo. Mothra is back in action and likely protecting both the surface world and Iwi Nation. And Kong is enjoying his status as a liberator and champion of the Great Apes.
And he's got a
Lord
new
of
pet,
his
Shimo.
armies, with both
What a
an
pet.
adoptive son and sidekick in Zuko and a powerful ally in Shimo.
Powerful.
Set to rule over areas of the Hollow Earth as King Kong.
I like
The
it.
human side of
King
things
Kong. Look at
outside
that.
our main cast, however, well, that gets dicey. World governments are wanting more and more in the Hollow Earth, and Monarch might risk being stretched thin. And with a new power player on the scene doing what she did prior, we might be at a tipping point even as Scar King's cold, shattered remains thaw into monkey soup. Shimo might be a
We still
typically
haven't seen
docile
anything
and
about
calm
the
Titan,
thumbnail.
but she is still a massive powerhouse
That showed
and
like a
carries
new version of
immense
Godzilla.
destructive
I'm hoping he
potential,
goes
with
over
some of
that.
the most destructive ones being at Rio, Hong Kong,
It's just a
DC,
guess.
and Boston.
Regardless.
With this kind of escalating devastation, even if the blame could be mostly put on groups like Alien Titans,
Bro, I
Apex,
love
and
Godzilla
Scar
movies,
King,
man.
numerous governments
Dude,
around
they've
the
always
world
been
will
so
say
fun.
enough is enough. It may not be Monarch's fault these kinds of brawls are happening, but within a decade, the world has gone from virtually no monster attacks to constantly escalating
all
ones.
the time.
More benevolent
Escalating
kaiju like
for sure.
Mothra and Kong might be off the hook, but potentially devastating destroyers like Amula
I'd
and
say
Rodan
Scar
have
King
been
was a
at
little
large
less
for years.
escalation
The
than
attempts of
Ghidorah,
anti-kaiju
honestly.
weapons like the Oxygen Destroyer,
Ghidorah did a lot more
Mechagodzilla,
than
and
Scar
the
King.
Titan Hunter might have been just the start. All this devastation would encourage just about every government to remain anything but idle. So we expect even more sci-fi tech to try and even the odds, or incursions into the Hollow Earth for assets and resources, either for defense or, as one of these Showa-era movies was titled, Destroy All Monsters.
Y'all think Rodan
But
will
we
be
don't
back?
think humans
I
will
heard
be the
something
primary
about
threat
how
for
he's
our main
not
kaiju
actually dead or
characters
anything.
this time. When people are in tough situations or looking for a chance to get
Remember when
ahead,
he got
they'll
stabbed by
often try to
Mothra?
take advantage of any strength or opportunity they see, no matter who is offering it. And there are some possible villains who just might make the offer.
Go ahead.
Both the space
Tell
themed
them.
title and text from the trailer.
See, that
is a
R,
pretty
bro.
good
That
hint that
R's
we should
giving me
heed the
Gigan
advice to,
vibes. But
watch this space.
Supernova's
It
giving
may
me
not
Space
be a
Godzilla
coincidence
vibes.
that this is the same kind of line you would see out of a 1950s or 60s alien invasion movie. So far, King Ghidorah has been our primary introduction to aliens in the
and it won't be
Monsterverse.
King Ghidorah,
But
obviously.
just like the Showa era that legendary series seems to be taking a lot of cues from, we don't think the one who is many will be the last extraterrestrial.
yeah, it won't
What
be.
you're looking at is a supposed leaked set photo, courtesy of Mr. Goji54, showing an
How'd he
unusual
get
lighting
this?
array in a wide open space with a lot of lights.
That is a
Possibly
lot of
glow.
lights.
This sort of setup is to help establish consistent lighting for the actor's scenes when filming a CGI light source above them to be added in later. What we see here could be simply just
Interesting.
physical lighting for a CGI Monarch craft, or it could be something not of this world at all. The fact the trailer put focus on Sedona, Arizona, a place long associated with alien lore, to the point they host regular night vision UFO tours, might be implying a few
That's
things.
kind of insane,
Yes,
bro.
this might finally be the time to introduce alien races into the series if they're ever going to take that route. And one very common
They're gonna
through
take
line
the
from
route
Toho
where I'm
films
telling
is
you.
that the aliens often act as infiltrators, either looking human and faking benevolence or pretending to be human with disguises to set up their operations. And if the M Nebulans could get away with setting up a fake theme park with a Godzilla-shaped laser cannon to summon up monsters from deep space, and we're in a setting where pyramids can have fantastical powers, that renovation
Anything
at
can
Giza
happen,
may
bro.
or may
Anything
not be
can happen.
something much more sinister. As for who it is that might be coming from
Plus,
outer space to
it's
threaten
just
the
now
world
in
yet again,
production. Like, they
there
have
are
so much
several
time to
possibilities.
improve, and
It's always possible we might just get
I
an
just can't wait
original
for an
monster,
actual trailer.
And at that point, almost
Original
anything
monster?
about it is effectively unpredictable. However, with
I'd be
Toho
with that.
pushing
I'm down.
forward massive plans to get Godzilla into the spotlight more and more, there might be some changes to some of the talks between them and Legendary about bringing in more of the roster.
True.
Toho monsters like Rodan and Mothra have been showing up more often in recent Monsterverse projects. The second DC crossover comic, for example. After some confusion about the rights briefly led to Mothra getting replaced with an original kaiju, Phosphera, during the production of the last movie. So, an original monster can never be ruled out.
I never even
Time
knew about
seems
that.
about
I thought
right
it was
to bring
always
in some
Mothra.
of the old guard, and one Cyclopedia slasher makes for an obvious pick. Gigan has enjoyed something of a comeback in recent years on the recent anniversary of the Cyborg
Yeah,
Kaiju's
somewhat.
first
Not
appearance
major,
back in the
but-
70s. Gigan is easy to recognize and will fit into
Bro,
any
Gigan
story involving aliens sneaking onto Earth. Some of
would
the
be
clues
cool.
we've seen in
Space
the teaser
Godzilla would
might
be a lot
related to
cooler,
parts of their
in my opinion.
original movie. Long-distance communication
Or
with
both.
powering structures, possible aliens disguised
Totally down with
as
both.
humans, the possibility of a 2v2 monster brawl. Gigan could fit the mold like a hand to a glove.
A little
even if they
2v2?
don't have any hands.
That would be
There is
nice.
another, perhaps more popular pick. The prior movie was supposed to involve something of a tag team match with Godzilla and Kong squaring up against a villainous counterpart. That comparison works fine for Kong and Scar King, but with Shimo going through some redesigns and being established as pretty docile when not coerced by a certain tyrant, the main shared physical attributes she has with the G-Man were lessened. She might have started out as an ice Godzilla when talked about in the concept phase, but the final product wound up taking cues from polar bears and
Yeah, she
the
went kinda
Gamera villain
crazy.
Varagon as much as it did Godzilla. And with statements that they want the plot to focus
like the
more
final
on
version
Godzilla
of it.
after Kong enjoyed sitting in the protagonist seat
I think it
for
was
the
nice.
last 2 movies, it only makes sense now to introduce an evil distortion of the surface world's Alpha Titan. Supernova cast member Alicia Debnam Carey did post this particular string of images in their social media alongside the trailer. 2 women
What does
sending
that
a
mean?
call about something involving a shooting star
Space
and
Godzilla?
dinosaur. could
It's right
easily
there in
be
front
a
of us, bro.
misdirect,
Everything's
or
right there.
It could be a clue, considering that is exactly what happened when Mothra's fairy sent a warning about the arrival of the titular villain in Godzilla vs. Space Godzilla. And if you needed to hint to the audience that the antagonist is an evil counterpart
Bro, they're
to
laying it
Godzilla,
out for us.
you
They
can't
know.
Get much more clear.
They're just
And
giving it all to
considering
us
this
right now.
crystalline opponent from the 90s would pretty closely match up with the aesthetic of the energy crystals.
And
we
could you
see
imagine
abundant
what
in
they
the
can make
Hollow
that
Earth,
look
and
like
the
in today's
supernova-like
CGI?
energy in the title card has some resemblance
Space
to the
Godzilla.
shockwaves created when the pyramids in the last movie collided together. There might be some
It would be so cool.
connections being made. This infamous piece of concept art showing a winged Godzilla firing
What
at
even is
numerous
that?
titans could be interpreted as everything from just a creative depiction of Godzilla and Mothra's symbiosis to a particularly powerful individual the Iwi legends
That
thought
would
of
be
as
some
evil
crazy
in
stuff to
early
see.
drafts of the 2021 film. Zosla Halawa, the
Who?
monster that ate a star, could be referring to just the Godzilla we know and love, but with how the individual we saw changed as much as he had with exposure to new radiation and able to absorb DNA sources from other kaiju, who's to say a similar creature didn't exist in the past?
True.
One who adapted and grew differently, less an arbiter of balance and more a conqueror.
Bro, we can
In the
see
next
this
movie, we
evolution
could finally
from the
be looking
thumbnail.
at Godzilla's doppelganger coming from outer space, perhaps taking the form of an animal that looks
That's Verano's
very
Space
similar
Godzilla.
to Godzilla.
I'm telling you,
Almost
in the
like
movie,
if
it could
these
be-
two
it could be
organisms
so
from
crazy.
outer space and Earth met at this form via some sort of intergalactic convergent evolution. Our Godzilla against
Like that.
their Spacezilla.
That would be sick.
There is also the matter of Godzilla also possibly taking a new form once again. We say this for two reasons. One being what all corporations lust
Hold
for
on
the
now.
most, sales.
He would have to
In
take a
this
new
case,
form, bro.
toy and
They
figure
can sell
sales.
new toys for sure.
And two, the last few outings starring
But he'd
the
have to get
G-Man
stronger.
have all had the lights in the title card reflect something about his dynamics in the film. Cold blue to contrast with Kong's bright orange in their first crossover. Then sharp magenta and pinks to reflect the evolved state in the last movie.
So wait, what was
We've
this
been
one?
covering the MonsterVerse for 4 years now, and we're starting to pick up on a pattern. If this trend continues alongside the possible hints in this trailer,
So it'll be like
we
a
might be
yellowish
looking at
orange
taking
Godzilla.
on a brand new form yet again.
Oh,
Well, this is
there
great
it is.
news
That's
for
the one I
toy
was
and
talking
merch
about.
sales. This might have dire consequences in the plot that could risk making the aliens not the worst possible threat. We've seen what happens when a version of Godzilla absorbs too much power. And
That's
if
true.
it is Godzilla who ends up eating a star, that being a form of extraterrestrial power, we could be once again looking at the most powerful version of Godzilla yet.
Let's
Though this also
go.
comes with
I'm
some
down. I
applied
don't
bad
care.
news. The word
What's the bad
supernova
news?
sounds cool and all, but perhaps not
That's
all
an
people
exploding
know
star?
what it is. All stars eventually meet their fate. At the end of their very long lives, they can collapse in on themselves and become black holes, or they can blaze and burn into a supernova. An extremely violent and many would
Kinda
say
crazy.
a glorious spectacle of explosive force that is the aftermath of a dead star. Emphasis on the word dead. Now, hold up. We'd like to think that this is just an
Wait a
implication of the
minute.
energy released by a supernova.
They're not gonna kill
A very
Godzilla in this
marketable
movie.
name for Godzilla's new state, but we can't rule out the possibility that we are looking at the beginning of a new chapter of the
New
MonsterVerse.
chapter, maybe.
As they say, sometimes
The
for
end of
something
it?
new
No.
to be born, something old has to die.
That's a
And
beautiful
what a perfect
statement.
way to start a new trilogy.
I think it's Space Godzilla, and then after this movie, it's gonna be Destroyer. I'm telling you, mark my words.
Film comes out. You know what to do.
We'll keep up
Subscribe,
with it, guys.
and we'll catch you in
Hit
the
that
next
subscribe
video.
button. We'll keep reacting. As new things come out, as people start finding out new things, I will keep you guys updated. And when obviously they drop more trailers, we're going to be reacting to them. So thank you guys for watching with me. I will see you in tomorrow's video. Let me know any theories you guys have in the comments too. I love you. Goodbye.